Flavia, and online we have Supervisor Banks, and I'll go ahead and make a motion for allowing Supervisor Banks to fully participate in the meeting remotely due to exceptional circumstances.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the final agenda. I have a motion.
I'll make it.
I have a motion for approval of the final agenda.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll go ahead and move into public comments, and just as a reminder, if you signed up or if you wish to sign up, there's a small piece of paper by the podium. You are allowed 3 minutes. And go ahead, Chelsea.
All right, Eileen Kalen from
Yes.
Pinecrest.
That's me.
Let's see if I know how to do this since Laura's not here.
Well, that you know.
And Eileen, thank you for your email too.
Okay, thank you for responding to that. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the chance to
Well, I
talk
didn't
today.
respond to it yet. I
Well, you
got
did
it.
just now. Just now was the response I appreciate. My name is Eileen Killeen. I am a resident of Pinecrest. I work from my home, and my office overlooks the fun park. I'm an RN. I have 4 grown and flown kids, and I'm an absolute dog lover. And I'm really into health and wellness, and I'm really excited about the future of the Parks and Recs department here. I am asking the Board of Supervisors today to take up the recommendation from the committee that was made in this week's meeting to not sell the fun park. That was motioned and it was carried in the meeting. I'm also asking the committee to consider moving the dog park to the commons area, not to the fun park. This week's park committee meeting, there was a presentation about how recreation facilities and community parks will add value to homeowners, and I 100% agree that well-planned and well-maintained facilities add to the community and reflect in our property values. I look forward to the completion of phase 1 of the commons development. I think having that community building is exciting, and it will be a huge asset for all residents. I do think that moving the dog park to the fun park has not been well planned out. Back in June, I submitted an objection to moving the dog park so close to residential property due to the noise of the park, and I think it will violate Lee County sound ordinances. At that time, I asked a study to be done on how this will be managed, and I asked for sound engineering to be involved in the planning. A few weeks ago, the district did do a sound study of the current fun park, but the study was not done at the actual dog park during peak usage hours. When there was a meeting for the park committee, this is in the evening time, there was a well laid out plan for the commons area. And what almost seemed like an afterthought, there was a picture of what looked like Google Earth where the fun park and a big square drawn where the dog park would be built. And that was just feet away from residential property. At both recent park committee meetings, when there were objections to moving the dog park to the fun park, they were met with response that the fun park can be sold off to the highest bidder. There was also seemed to be a lack of attention to the comments that the residents were making. Other residents felt we were not being heard and we were being bullied by the threat of selling the fun park. I respect the volunteers on the committee, and I believe they're working very hard for our community. They put a lot of time into this, and I do want to be part of the solution here. I'm willing to volunteer for the committee if there are meetings in the late afternoon. And I'm asking the Board of Supervisors to vote on these things today or in the near future so that the park committee can have more guidance moving forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good timing.
Next.
Barney Draper from Pinecrest.
Barney Draper, I don't see real well, but I'll try. I also would like to have the dog parks be moved to the commons. And I think it should be, a dog park should have 2 gates in it, one in the front would be the west side, one on the east side that goes to the Florida Power light lines. That's the biggest dog park in the world right there, you know. Everybody walks their dog there from the country club on over. And the other thing I like to talk about, I was a little bit disappointed in the Parks Committee. A little bit disrespect to our community, Pinecrest. Didn't appreciate that at all. You can't be on a board and be one-sided about everything. You gotta open up about things. The other thing that bothers me a lot is behind the Lutheran church is the smell. And that sewage, it's a lift station, I guess, and it needs some work done to it. And Ed, you're right about one thing. You and I may not agree on everything, but we need to do something about the infrastructure around here. And it's getting bad. It's going to get worse. We got to stop spending money on dog parks and things like that, and parking lots, and start spending money on the things that we need. That's what we need. We need to fix that. That's the worst smell in the world. If you don't believe me, just walk over there one day and find out. It's bad today, I tell you. And I don't have anything else to say, but I would like to see one other thing I want to bring up. Came down and talked to Chelsea about the pickleball. Now, I don't play pickleball, but I believe if you put a pickleball net up on top of a flat roof building, they would show up. You know, I do. I suggested that we got this brand new parking lot over here that we put asphalt on, in 8 lots, I think they are. Set up a couple pickleball nets, stripe it out, and you're not going to believe how many people you're going to get. And I you told me to get some people. I got people. They think that's a great idea. And I told them you can't play when they got soccer. You got to have certain days that you can play this, certain days you can play that. And when I found out what they charge these people to join a soccer club, like $200 a month, I almost had a heart attack, you know? And you only got pickleball, which is in the country club, right? That's it. We don't have anything for these people. And that can be a temporary solution till you get the commons thing built. And I'll help on that if I have to.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Tamara Zahn, did I pronounce that right? Zahn?
Yes.
From Vista Pine Circle, Pinecrest,
Pinecrest.
regarding the dog park.
Okay, well, thank you guys for the opportunity to give me a moment to speak. I've X'd out a few things because someone else has already addressed them, so I won't waste your time. The first thing I want to say is there's still, I think until this week's Park and Rec meeting, there was still some confusion amongst the residents because there was a lot of hearsay, and even on the survey that the dog park moving to the fun park had already been voted on. There was a survey that was put out by the Parks and Rec, and it clearly said they had voted and approved it, submitted it to the Board of Supervisors, and they had approved it. But then this week, we voted to hold off on it. So it was confusing, I think, for a lot of us, which is probably why the February meeting, what I was concerned about, we had 21 of 23 residents that actually showed up here. It was standing room only. And there was 21 of the 23 that had expressed their opinions about let's not move the dog park to such a close proximity of the residents. You know, there's most dog parks, you don't see them right in the residential area. They're just a little bit ways of it. So I just want to express my request and concern for that as well. And then I think it's the last thing. Let's see. Just engaging the residents early in the process, because what we kept hearing in this week's meeting, I think there was some frustration by, and rightly so, by some of the Parks and Recs, not all of them, but some of them. Hey, we've been working on this for a year, yada, yada, yada. Well, I know for some of us, we went back and even looked at the minutes. We didn't see anything talked about Parks and Rec, and some of us just found out, which is why we got engaged late. But you can see how it's frustrating if someone's been working on it a year and now all the residents come and thwart the whole idea. So I get it. I appreciate their work. And I volunteer on a board myself, so I understand the frustration, but just would appreciate reconsideration. And as Eileen mentioned, the vote that went through, that I think the Park and Rec will be pushing to you guys, if we could get resolution on that sooner rather than later and hopefully resolve it, would be appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next we have,
I just want to show you the.
yeah,
Okay.
just, I mean, yeah, location. All right, next we have Lisa Gottesman?
Sorry, my handwriting is terrible. It's all one thing. Gottesman.
Gottesman. All right.
Hi. So thank you all for your service. I know this is like touchy. So I was at the fun park. I've been at the fun park doing yoga, and one of the neighbors approached me about this subject, I don't know, a week or two ago. And so I felt inclined to kind of poke around, and I'm a local realtor. I've lived here since 2004, sold close to 1,000 homes in this community. And it's been great to see all of the families moving in. So I'm going to give you my realtor perspective, because I get to hear buyers in my car all the time talking about what they're looking for. And they're looking for churches. They're looking for community. They're looking for parks. They're looking for things to do for their kids. And you guys ironically know that because you can see what's happening at the soccer fields. It's just a no-brainer. But there's some disconnect because, I forget, Carrie was talking, she did this beautiful presentation about how the parks are enhancing everything. And so we can go back and forth about all the terrible things about why it's common sense that you don't put a dog park behind 8 people's homes. We already have a great dog park. And I'm going to tell you guys for your edification, because yesterday or 2 days ago, I went to the dog park, and I've been going just to see the usage and what's been going on there. And ironically, there was a woman with 3 of her own dogs outside of the dog park in the soccer field area, because she was in a hurry to get her dogs to go potty, to go back. And she said, I asked, what's your opinion? I'm really excited about the dog park. I said, can I ask you why? Well, because there's not enough parking here, and because the condition of this dog park is terrible. Like, they don't take care of it. So I'm thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense. Who's going to monitor the new dog park? That's just going to bring another bigger problem. And now people are going to be more noisy because there's 7 or 8 homes there. That it's just not fair, and it's going to severely impact the resale value of their homes or their ability to sell. So I want to offer, because I feel like we're we're kind of going backwards. So I'm going to state that I'm great at community. I'm great at bringing community together. I want to partner with the Parks and Recs to bring free yoga into the parks, and other things, whatever. So I'm going to take a little bit more of an active role to try to help bridge the gap of what's going on. So I'm going to ask for communication ahead of time. Are we 3 minutes? Oh, okay, sorry. Just so that we can, we're thinking about doing like a march to see if we can get enough people to show how important that park is, so that we can let the neighborhood speak about how important it is to keep that park there. And then lastly, I don't understand why we have to sell the park. And so nobody's answering that question. And so I would like to put on record that I would like to understand why that park needs to be sold, and why it can't just remain a park, and why it has to be.
I just need to correct it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's my question, is why does if the dog park doesn't go there, why does the park have to be sold?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Paul Leogran, and it's with regards to the dog park.
Hello everyone, Paul Leogran, 12504 West Haven. I am lucky enough to serve on the Parks and Rec Committee. I'm newly appointed there. Now I've been to 3 meetings. And I'm privileged to serve on that committee, and I understand. It kind of blows me away, the passion that people have, and the concern that people have, and the attendance that people are taking time out of their day to show up to voice their concerns. There's a clear, loud voice that dog park, the community does not want that there, right? And it's not necessarily the idea that they don't want or need a dog park, whether it be where it is now. We understand there's a parking situation that needs to be fixed, and that is the main reason for the move. So we understand that, but the question becomes, why can't it be moved someplace else? Or have we done an evaluation to see where else it could be? Because clearly where it's being offered to go is not wanted. Just a little bit more about the numbers. We had 21 out of 23 comments our last night meeting against it. We had 25 total out of 29 comments, not including today. So we're at 96% people that have mentioned this dog park issue.
Oh,
Is that 3 minutes?
no, my God.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I never-
Sorry about that.
I was like, that red light, I was like, I
Sorry.
really think
Yeah.
we just started.
No, sorry, Laura's not here and I'm a mess.
No, it's okay. I mean, that's basically
Wait a
it. That's really it. Just wanted to reinforce that. And as far as the committee, at least me, I'll speak for myself. I am listening to people, and I think, just the fact that people are standing up, we're here all listening to each other. So it's not that anything is falling on deaf ears, and I want to make sure that we're all aware of that. And I appreciate your time and attention.
Thank you, Paul, I appreciate it.
I have one more. Would you like me to read it into the record, or I can scan it and email it to you after the fact?
It doesn't matter.
That might be too late. Read it again.
Okay. March 6, 2024, to the Gateway Services Board of Directors. My name is Whitney Tinsley. We have lived at 12610 Eagle Point Circle since 1990. It has come to our attention that the board is considering moving the existing dog park to the Gateway Fun Park. That would put the dog park in amongst a residential area with homes basically abutting the park. My home being one of those directly adjacent to the park. We bought this lot and built here due to the proximity to the park. We have raised 3 children who have used the park their entire childhoods, as well as many of their friends from within the whole Gateway community. We're expecting our first grandchild and are looking forward to sharing the same experiences with him. I'm very concerned if the dog park is moved there for the following reasons. Number 1, the unsanitariness of the park from the feces and urine, including the odor. Number 2, the noise from the dogs getting excited as dogs should get with freedom of dog park involves, not to mention the noise from dogs living within earshot who would be bothered by the constant barrage of dogs at the park. I know my dogs would be very bothered by having dogs so close to their yard. And number 3, the risk of diseases and parasites that are common with dog parks spreading to the neighboring yards. We keep hearing the threats that the district will sell the fun park off if the dog park is not moved there. It could be a drug rehab center, a daycare center with multiple cars with their car lines, or even a restaurant. I would hope that as a board you all know that none of these entities belong in that small space within a residential community. Would you like any of that in your backyard? My hope is that as a board you take a good hard look at what is right for this area and its surrounding neighbors. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Whitney Tinsley.
Thank you. Good job.
All in one breath.
All right, perfect. So we'll go ahead and, nothing online?
Nothing online, no additional comments.
Perfect, thank you. Local achievements and recognitions, do we have anything?
I just want to keep echoing the utility staff, really all of our staff. Tackling hurdle after hurdle, things come up, they jump on it, they get it done. We've had lots of confidence with regards to customer service. So really, having 30 staff to run this entire district, it's a large thing to undertake, but super, super proud of our staff and high kudos for everything that they do and give back to the community.
Thank you. Voice that to the staff.
Hey, and Chelsea, really, Madam Chair, really quick, because my
Yes.
reception's not great. I just want to make a quick statement. What we're hearing is a lot of communication, a lot of conversation around the parks and momentum there and input on the dog park and that stuff, which is fantastic. I think the whether it's positive or negative, we're talking about these things in open forum. What I would recommend, and I could bring it up in supervisor comments if my connection's good, but I think we should have a town hall meeting at 6 o'clock. At some point in the future, Chelsea, we can work out a date, and let's have a larger discussion about what our philosophy is on the parks, what's our plan, and give an opportunity for us to be very clear and communicate what we are doing, what our plans are, what it's our philosophy, and then also have some comments. So I think we should do that. I think it'd be a really good thing for us to do, and I think we should do it tonight at 6 o'clock just to make sure that everyone can attend.
All right, thank you, Doug. All right, advisory committees, we don't have any items to report, so approval of minutes.
Oh, well, I
Oh,
did
you
go
do?
to the prac.
The only day that I say we don't, yeah, go ahead, Carol, I'm sorry.
Well, I did go to the prac meeting,
Okay.
and you were there too. And,
I was.
and basically from the emails that you've received and public comment here, I think you can get a gist of the idea of the meeting, and it was basically about moving the dog park to the fun park. I think Doug's suggestion is a great idea, and I would hope that we could look to do that in April, maybe sometime, like right after one of our meetings. Just a suggestion. The other thing was, the new Parks and Rec director did provide a wonderful economic impact study about what Parks and Rec can do for a community and how it increases resale values and raises the whole community. As they say, rising water lifts all ships. So I was wondering if we could have that maybe in one of our workshops, if she could do a little presentation for the board too on that.
We can, yeah, we can have a separate, we can have it prior to the town hall meeting, so we.
Yeah, we can put it as part of monthly reports and have it brought up.
Yeah, but I agree.
That'd be great.
Thank you, Cheryl. All right, so let's go ahead and move to approval of minutes.
I move to approve the February 1st, 2024 minutes and the February 15th, 2024 Board of Supervisors minutes with Tony's corrections in red.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Do you have Tony's?
Yes, we've already incorporated them, so when
Okay.
Flavia signs them later.
We do. Thank you.
Thank you. Consent agenda items, do we have anything to pull?
I move on consent agenda items A and B. I have no questions, whatever.
I second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
District engineer?
Bob, give them
President,
nothing. He has nothing right now.
there's some
Right now.
items on the
Right now.
agenda, but
It's just,
Do you
you're
want,
gonna, is he gonna be back?
well, that's what I was gonna say,
No,
what's
I have-
next item?
Well, no, I have Raptellis on the line next for A, and then his item. Raptellis has a hard stop, which I'm supposed to be right now, but
Okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and, take 11A.
okay. Tony, are you online?
Yes, good afternoon. Tony Hairston here.
Tony Hairston for the record.
Oh, yes. Okay, Tony.
The other Tony.
Other Tony. All right, Tony, go ahead if you just want to give a brief update, or I'll start. At the last conversation we had with regards to the rates and the facilities plan and the meter project, the computer's freezing. We had to do a minor tweak to the rate proposal to capture the final cost that we put in the facilities plan. So with that, Tony's coming back with those updated numbers for you all, which this computer is going super slow. I'm trying to get there. So Tony, I don't know if you want to just expand on anything or just kind of touch over the rates.
I'll just say presented in February the rates, and then as Chelsea mentioned, what was in that presentation was 11.5 million of the meter replacement project. That got updated to 13.9 million. So the debt service projections are higher, and we adjusted the water and irrigation rates upwards, and there's an updated comparison. You can go to the slide on page 6 of the PowerPoint.
Can I just ask you for a pause for a second? Just so you know, Bob Gepper is online, so I need a motion I'm gonna make a motion for allowing Bob Gepper to fully participate in this meeting remotely due to exceptional circumstances.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, go ahead, Tony, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So anyway, we updated the rates from what was presented to reflect the higher meter replacement costs. And in your packet is an updated comparison on the PowerPoint, slide 6, and the rate path is on slide 7. And on slide 6, it was the bill for 4,000 gallons was going from $83.53 to $89.10. It's now $89.32. So same relative position as others that was shown, but slightly higher by 22 cents for the water and sewer bill at 4,000 benchmark. So, and there's whole information in your packet, which is the same format what was presented last month, just updated for the reasons I mentioned.
Okay, I have just one question. I'm sure it's in here, and I'm sure we asked it last time, but just let me ask it again. Did this take into effect the $8, 8% that the county, that Lee County is putting on every year for the next 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
So what, at the last,
Hold on, I has a question.
Yeah, Tony, we're going to be doing a new building, and that building is financed 59% of costs through our, what do we call it? 04 Enterprise Fund, and the rest of it through our 001 and 002 funds. By my calculations, they've not been validated, but I think they're pretty accurate. We're looking at there's somewhere in the neighborhood of around $400,000 is going to have to be generated with the combination of potable water, irrigation, and sewer rates to pay for that capital cost of that building, principal and interest, operation and maintenance, and debt reserve or capital reserve. Where is that in this schedule? And I'm assuming that since it's a fixed cost, that would be a cost that needs to be increasing each one of the base rates. Is that in there, or is that dollar figure in this budget? That plus or minus $100,000?
Yes, there's a schedule of capital improvements, schedule, let's see. Exhibit 12, and it has all the capital, including administration, building, and this actually funded from, I think we're showing some reserves from prior rates, and so your fixed costs, especially administrative costs, are from the fixed part of the bill, so the answer would be yes.
Okay, so that doesn't quite answer my question.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that 1,935,200 is 49 or 59% of X.
yes,
Is that correct?
yes.
What's X? 3.6 million?
X is part of the original bond series.
No, well.
The
The
total amount?
the total amount
For the admin building, the
for
3
the admin is 59%. So if you take $5 million, if whatever the bid is, 59%, that's $3 million, not 1,935,000. But that doesn't answer my question. There's equal to or more money in the operation and maintenance and the capital reserve than there is in the debt retirement. I don't see that anywhere in this calculation at all. I'm looking at, if I take roughly 6,000 equivalent units in Gateway in our enterprise fund, and I'm around $380,000, that would be a net increase of $63 a year across the board, or in the bi-monthly deals divided by 6, be what, $12 increase in the base rate. Are you looking at those same numbers? Because I don't think you are. You're just
So the
showing,
question,
you're just showing capital costs only, which would eliminate any debt retirement, which I have no problem with. We want to take 59% of the enterprise share of the 5 million or whatever the number is. That's one, that drops the principal and interest out of the calculation. But the principal and interest is a drop in the bucket compared to the capital reserve and the O&M of this building. Where's the enterprise's share of that cost? I don't see that in this calculation.
let me try it this way. If you recall, we are increasing rates, but we're also using reserves from rates that have already been collected. Remember, we were drawing those down. So it's a combination of the two. Maybe that's why if you're trying to calculate it a different way, you're not seeing the whole picture, because we do draw down reserves. If you go forward on the slides that are shown, let's see, one more.
Care about with the methodology we used to do it. I just want to make sure that that
Right there, that one.
is there. I don't see it there.
The rates are going up, but at the same time, we draw down reserves and they're building up over time through the phase-in of rate. So you're going to see it in rates, but you also see it in that we drew down reserves from revenue collected to date. So it's taking into account that we have reserves now, we're drawing from them, but we're going to raise rates to replenish them as well. So it's a bit of both.
So, okay.
It's still not clear to, now it's not clear to me.
Let me try.
Is
So
it a goal that we're gonna continue to hit the reserves for it?
So
Yeah, I can get that.
Tony, let me see if I can help. So when we closed the 2023 bonds, the utility fund had to front the 1.9 million number. And that had to transfer out of utility reserves as payment for their 59% portion of the admin building, which per that engineering plan at the time was like 3.6 million. So that 59%, Ed, to your point, is of that 3.6 number in the 2023 bond report. Now, your admin costs, there is no principal and interest because you've already fronted the money and you pulled from reserves.
I understand.
But your admin and your capital costs should be incorporated as part of the financing and the rate. And the admin costs, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, the administrative costs are covered in base rates as part of the base rate number.
Right, overall administrative costs are sure in the base rate.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we have the enterprise fund coming up with not only the capital through payment of reserves or using reserves. So that takes the O&M payment out, or I'm sorry, the P&I payment out.
Yeah.
We still have half of that cost is basically capital reserve and O&M. I'm just saying, where is that money? Because it turns out to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $63 a year. Where's it at? I just don't see it anywhere, because that would be a substantial increase in the base rate to just offset that. And I'm hoping that we're not using reserves to offset operating costs for the next umpteen years. That's
So I guess
ridiculous.
that's my question, because that's what was not clear. I mean, I know we will utilize it, but is that the goal? I just need to make sure it's there, I guess, that's my question.
I just want to make sure that you understand that we have somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000-400,000 of O&M and capital reserve that's got to be paid for, generated out of the enterprise fund, period.
Yeah.
And is it there? I don't want to come back next year in 2025 and say, we're short. Is this a big ticket item? And it isn't going to get less. It's going to get up more and more every year. It's a variable cost as far as the O&M component of it.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say this, just on the potable water rates themselves, the base rates are going up over the through 2027 and through that period of time as well. And you also have irrigation base rates that are going up as well. So they're not going up all in one year. So maybe that's looking at the exact calculations you are, but if the schedule goes up over time, phases in over time.
Give me an example. What is our current potable water base rate right now? 5/8 by 3/4 inch meter.
$18.51 going to $21.10.
Okay, and if my calculations are right, then it needs to be $12 per bi-monthly payment to cover these costs, then I would say that is the base rate in 2025 going to be 30?
It'd be 24, then 24.77, then 25.51 by 2027. Per month. That's let me make sure I'm looking at monthly.
Sarah, you had a comment?
Yeah, maybe Tony can look at this again and come back at the next meeting.
Okay, so that's one question. Any other
Yeah.
questions you have that you didn't see here?
That's a big one. If you're going to, well, I think the other one is on the assumption that the 1,000,009 was based on 3.6, and should the bids come in where we've been told they could be coming in at 5, that's another, 1.2 million that, well, my issue is that, are we going to use reserves to do that, or are we going to debt retire that? Which one? Because either one is going to rob our account. I'd hate to see taken out another 1.2 or 1.4 million out of our reserves. I'd much rather, especially at 3.5%. I'd rather pay that on a principal and interest payment.
But that's a decision that is a little bit down the road. So Tony, you can work on what Ed had just asked, and I don't think Carol has anything else to add. Doug and Bob, you guys have anything else, any other questions that you would like Tony to work on and present to us?
I don't.
I have one thing to
Yeah,
add.
my only comment is I'm concerned, as Ed is, about the money that I'm not seeing where it's coming from. I want to make sure everything's included.
It's there, okay. Chelsea, go ahead.
So we, at the last meeting, the board had said, hey, we don't want to time the proposed rate increase in conjunction with, the public hearing in conjunction with the budget. We had anticipated sending out, where's it at? A notice. This is the draft notice that we were anticipating having a public hearing. So with the changing of those numbers, we're gonna have to delay this.
Well, that's
And that's fine.
I just want to be.
Tony, how fast can you work on those numbers?
Tomorrow, I mean, I want to make sure I understand, I want to drill down on that project and make sure I'm interpreting exactly, what the question is and point to so I can work through it pretty quickly.
So
Sooner
Tony,
the better.
we can work through that tomorrow, but the intent was to have this to.
So I'm gonna fix that. So we have an option not to adjourn this meeting and have a continuation of this meeting, since he only needs it until tomorrow, so maybe Monday or Tuesday. And then you won't have the delay, and you won't have to change this, because it's still within it. If you get your answer by Monday or Tuesday, you're still within the timeline for your notice.
But I'm not to get it to the company to mail it, that we
When you
mail
need it by today?
pretty much tomorrow. That was the plan. So it's okay to
So
delay.
can you get those numbers by today?
But what I don't understand is that we've known this has been going to come along, how are we gonna pay for it? How is he, if we can't answer that question now, how are we gonna answer it a month ago when we started this process? Because we knew the number was gonna be real. The number's been in front of us for a year and a half. Why didn't he have those numbers?
Can we go to, sorry to interrupt, maybe we can look at the exact number and I can try to address it again. Is there exhibit 12 in the packet?
For under what?
It's under the report, under the draft 2 report. Yeah, all the way, just scroll way to the end of that. No, I guess that's too far.
It's page 99.
Oh, the exhibits.
Yeah, the exhibits. I don't
Okay.
see the exhibits in there.
Yeah.
I think it's page 99, Chelsea.
Tony, did
Oh,
you
there we go.
get anything from Infomark pertaining to this issue?
Yes. Well,
So we're looking for exhibit 12,
Page 99 in the agenda book.
page 99, someone's saying. Okay. So the question is, if I'm hearing correctly, is and there's no room numbers, but the main district building, is that correct? Or is it a different project?
That's it.
1935. It's really tiny, so
sorry, I'm trying to find it.
yeah, it's okay.
There, right
There.
there.
Is that it? That should be it. Bottom left, 5th row up.
This is capital fund.
Yeah, we're talking about capital, right?
But what Ed is referring to is the operation and maintenance costs and capital reserves of that building that will, after it's constructed, that we'll have to account for as part of the utility rates. So,
Oh, I'm, okay, I apologize. So I thought you were talking about funding this, you're saying the allocation of costs to general fund, basically, in the operating.
the O&M and the capital reserves of that.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, I misinterpreted the question. I thought you were talking about funding the capital. Okay, so, all right, all the operating details and schedules, let's see. 8, 9, and 10. So 8 is potable water.
What are you trying to find?
These are all the operational
Operation
expenses.
costs.
Irrigating operational costs.
What I assumed he was going to do is just simply take the 3 utilities, sewer, irrigation, and potable, take the total of what this is, and then allocate them either on dollar volume. But that'd probably be the easiest way of doing it.
Okay. The general, actually, if you go to, it's the transfer to the general fund, correct? Would it be, it's in that number, let's see, which is in, schedule 13, or, exhibit 13, excuse me.
Oh, you
Right,
were,
and
you were
what?
late.
13, 14, and 15. It's broken into 3 slices. Yeah, so. Yeah, general fund for potable water is going from 75,000 to 113. Irrigation's going from 33,000 to 43, and for sewers going from 75 to 80. And over the 5-year period, so that's an increase of 5, 10, that's 15. Oh, you know, I'm gonna work it out. And then water's going up the most, from 75 to 113.
So we don't stay on this topic. Do you want to just have Tony come back and give us a revised item? I think that'd be easier.
You want to come back to the March 21st meeting, so that'll delay the public hearing and delay the notice because we bill every 2 months. So
Well, if you're saying that it needs to go out tomorrow, because I mean, I'm willing to, my schedule is pretty open. I mean, for Monday and Tuesday, if this is important. If he only needs it until tomorrow, we can reconvene on Monday or Tuesday.
Also, I just want to make sure we're safe. I've got people asking me, do you have, you know what for brains? Do you know what this is going to cost us? And I'm sitting here doing the calculations. This scares the bejesus out of me. We're at about $100 going up some way, somehow, per year in income that people, or revenue people are going to give us to pay for this.
Yeah.
My deal is I just want to make sure that we are transparent as hell on this subject with the community. I don't want to have another dog park, fun park that I didn't know about that.
Yes.
Well, this time it's different because it's on the street.
Leslie
Here,
says it does have to
even
go out
I can't get
tomorrow.
off the
Yes, go
putting
on.
green
Okay, so
without hearing
so
about it.
so there's
Yes,
no need,
let's
so let's just
It'll
go ahead
delay.
and wait for a delay for the next.
it'll go out, it'll have to go out with the May 15th bill, so it'll be
Okay.
a 2-month delay.
All right, so Tony, if you can get us back,
Just identify in the report
Where
where
is
the
it at?
O&M and the capital reserve costs are for that one specific. Is there any other questions for Tony before he
no,
comes
I don't
back?
have any, Carol doesn't have any, Bob and Doug said no, you good?
I just want to make sure Tony is getting
Well, are
data
there
from
any
somebody.
other operational things? If you're gonna start to build out the commons area,
The utilities would not.
They're not covered by utilities?
The only reason the admin building is being paid
oh,
for by.
that's right, okay, because the offices are there.
Yes.
Yes, right, okay. I'm
So-
just trying to think of capital projects that are coming up that, you know,
Thank you.
So Tony, do you
water and sewer,
clear
That's
direction?
another issue.
yeah.
Well, Chelsea, I will need to work with you and staff just to make sure we're identifying the correct operational impact, the correct way. Because we have a lot of the detail there. I just want to make sure I'm.
Now you have time, you don't have to give us an answer by tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. All right,
All right.
we'll work together with Tony.
Thank you. So let's go ahead and, 60% design and review of the 2025 ponds.
Good afternoon, Stephen Agapi, Tetra Tech District Engineer.
These are the updated ones.
That's the email one?
Yeah.
All right. So I emailed Chelsea just this C000 sheets, just to make it easier for us all to just go over an overview of each lake. This is 6 lakes that were identified in the facilities plan. They're on the priority list. So these are the next round of lakes to be addressed. The lakes are Lake 75 in Daniels Preserve, Lake 81 in Daniels Preserve, Lake 94 in Timber Ridge, Lake 98, which is Gateway Greens and West Haven, and Lake 99, which is Summergate, and Lake 109 is Mahogany Run, is what I'm calling that one. It's between the golf course and Mahogany Run, the road.
Can you go to 109?
Yeah, I had questions on how we want to address the golf course.
109 is critical. The country club is going to be closing in 3 weeks for the next 9 months.
The next 9 months.
9 months. That's, we're gonna play golf again December 1.
Is that a yearly thing or a,
And that's 2024, I hope.
It's not,
it's not a yearly, that's not a
No.
regular occurrence?
no.
No, the entire course is closing down. There couldn't be a better time to be doing that work that's showing there from the offices where our office, Chelsea's office is at, all the way around and down to the dam.
Yeah.
Weir. That work, if you're going to be doing it with the golf course being torn up, that's the time to be doing that. So as a way to accelerate that west side all the way down, that would be the time to do it while they're tearing the daylights out of the golf course.
What's their
I
scope
hate
of
to
work?
see us come in right after they put in a $5 million golf course and we tear it up. Somebody would be hung.
What's their scope of work? They're just resodding or they're redesigning it?
Totally redoing all of the sod, the irrigation, cart paths, bunkers, whole new golf course reconfiguration.
Are they interested in expanding their scope of work to cover the shoreline?
To do what?
To fix the to restore the lake bank while
I don't
they're,
think that's their specialty.
no?
To play it safe, I'll just say no.
Okay, I just throwing it out there. I mean, as far as this project goes, it doesn't have funding yet. Our plan was to submit in June for SRF. We're trying to get to the August hearing. So we would get approval in August and be able to rock and roll from there. How does that line up with the schedule for the
They are
golf
saying
course?
they want to be done and operational by December 1.
So
But
December
that means
2nd,
grow-
we'd start
That
construction.
means grow in. So you're probably looking at 60 to 90 days of grow in. So they're probably going to be done with their construction.
Especially this lake. I mean, they could do this one first or, whatever.
I
Yeah.
don't see the
That's my
timing,
point.
I don't see the timing being realistic, truthfully.
Unless you can piggyback on their, I mean, it makes most sense to have,
We don't have the funding, that's the problem.
yeah,
But the only thing that you could do would be, if you got the funding in August, you'd have to be hitting the ground
yeah.
immediately to get the work done such that they're still doing construction as opposed to grow in. Because if they're doing grow in, that means all the leveling has been done, the sod has been sprigged, it's done.
Yeah.
And we would go out there with that equipment, because you've got to get that equipment there unless we're going to airlift it.
No,
It's going
we'd
to be tearing the hell out of that.
Yeah, we'd be causing disruption to that. That was one of my questions is, one, I know when we talked about the facilities plan, we talked about looking at all of the perimeter of the lake instead of just residential, which we have been considering on the last round of lakes and this round. So I just wanted to confirm, we want to consider that. It sounds like, Ed, from your point of view, representing, people who play golf, and it's an issue over there that,
Well, it's an issue that it's dangerous.
Well,
It's got an
Let
escarpment.
may I add my 2 cents into this?
of course,
When it comes to if the golf course is doing a major revamping, would it be an appropriate time to run down that golf course side with a grader to create the slope you want, 4 to 1, 6 to 1, 8 to 1, whatever, and then sprinkle some grass seed and walk away? Take out any dangerous escarpment, level it out, seed it, and move on. That'd be a lot cheaper than anything else we're talking about.
Your problem is,
Yeah.
Bob, if you seed it, when the pond goes up to control elevation, the grass is going to be underwater.
As long as we're at control elevation edge, that's not our problem.
I don't want that pond any bigger, but I get too many balls in there anyway.
Well,
Uh,
but I don't want to spend a whole lot of money
If we
on a
did,
piece of the golf course property.
Bob has a point. If we did anything, we'd go in and we could grade it and get the slope back to normal to where we have the 4 to
Can't do
1.
it with a motor grader though.
I'm
Can I just
sorry.
ask for us, no public comments, if you like, just let's have it more.
So
The
here's,
issue, I'm just bringing up the fact that the course is going to be torn up now.
I understand.
And
that's
we
it.
know that. To come in and do it and tear it up after they fix the course, somebody's going to ask them if we get a screw loose.
so here's what I would suggest. So we don't have funding for this. We don't have current construction funding approved for this pond. If the board's direction was to pull just the golf course abutting, just that portion that directly abuts the golf course out and self-funds that, that is something that we could consider and prioritize doing this year. We've got current contracts, we know what the pricing is for the work that we're doing. We've got 3 different contracts out there. And
So you're talking about that wetland all the way to the rear,
to the back of
to the back
my
of the-
office.
Yeah,
Correct.
basically back of her office, all the way
This.
around and all the way down, yeah.
Right.
It'd be about
That would be a
360,000.
standalone project.
It would be its own separate standalone project that could prioritize, but you would have to self-fund it. And if that's the direction, we can go and solicit quotes and pricing to do that, and pull that part out of the SRF funding request. That would be for in August, if that is the board's direction. That is an option.
Ballpark number, $362,000 using non-woven. There are other options possibly. We just did a project in Pelican Preserve, Pond 36. They're using a method that they've had success with, where they essentially dredge material off in front of the eroded lake bank with an excavator, place it, try to grade it and compact it, but probably can't compact it to a density, and then they cover it with coconut matting, sod to control, and then walk away. That's what they're doing, and the numbers are, I think, what was it, like 50 to, I think all in, it was probably closer to $100 a foot, but with, mob, demob general requirements. So it's
This
cheaper
isn't-
than non-woven.
This isn't one of our worst areas by far, but it does have a major escarpment issue. So going in with what you've got it planned, I don't have any problem with that. It's just the issue of the timing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess I do have an issue with the cost, Ed. It is for the golf course. Why don't we get the cheapest thing we can? Why do we want to put all that money to enhance a golf course? Our responsibility is for the escarpment.
I don't think we're enhancing the golf course.
It's
We're
a
complying with
requirement.
the South Florida Water Management District's requirements.
I
minimize.
can comply with South Florida with a grader.
I'm sorry?
I can comply with the South Florida requirement with a grader.
Well, I don't know how you're going to do it, Bob, on this, but you cannot take that soil out of that pond. It's crap. It
I
won't.
didn't ask to take the soil out. I'm asking for contouring of the grass to the water.
Yeah, but you've got to bring in dirt.
No,
The golf
why do you
course,
have to bring in dirt? You just scarve it away.
the golf course isn't going to have any part of you shorting and eliminating the size of the fairways. They're not going to do that.
They can do anything they want. We're not worried about the golf course. We're worried about the public danger of the escarpment. The way to fix that is to grade it so the fairway gets a little narrower. So what?
Okay, Bob.
Now, if they don't like that plan, they can fund it.
Bob, give me a second. Steven, what is your opinion on it?
Oh, boy.
Come on.
This is the first that we funded.
This would be the first time we've
Not
addressed
in
a
the
golf
funding,
course.
Not in the funding.
Right.
I like an opinion on Bob's
I haven't
idea.
personally had experience with, listen, all the lakes were made the same way Bob is describing. They were graded. They eventually eroded, but they were graded. The slope was, in compliance for however long it was until it eroded. So yes, it would work. Eventually, you'd have to maintain it again. You'd have to regrade it again. I don't know. I can't estimate how long it would last.
Won't be $100 a foot.
What Bob said.
It won't be $100 a foot.
Madam Chair, just a question. Stephen, is this a platted lake tract?
That's-
Does the district own it in fee simple?
Believe so. It's a,
So what I'm getting at is from the standpoint of we have a lake configuration which probably matches the platted tract where meets and bounds. So to the extent that there's any erosion, we're eating into the fairways, we need to reconstruct, need to do more to probably than just grading. I'm not an engineer, Stephen can explain that or answer that.
yeah, I think what Tony's trying to get at is we don't want to encroach into, or outside of our
Easement.
our lake tract or our LME.
I think you will already find, as we saw on the other side of this lake, it's already gone the other direction. It has gone from the lake into the golf course.
Yeah, and then the question is, do we have a lake maintenance or drainage easement on the golf course? Those are some other items to look
You
at.
mean an LME?
Yeah, yes, or even a drainage easement.
I like it, you do have it.
Yeah, we have that there. The issue is that I don't see any way you can recreate that 4-to-1 slope on the golf course side without bringing in material to reestablish the 4-to-1. I mean, there's no material there. It's gone. It's gone out into the lake.
Well, Ed, my question is, why do we need to maintain it? We're just worried about an escarpment. If it is in the interest of the golf course that they want to keep their fairway X number of feet wide, then they can contribute.
I'm not talking about maintenance. I'm talking about purely returning it back to its original
Yeah,
condition.
I mean, Bob, from my perspective, I think, and Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a South Florida Water Management District permit that has plans and specifications for the facilities.
Correct.
And part of it is not just the sloping, but it's also, you have the volumetric, the quality, you know, all those issues that come into play to being in compliance with the permit. I mean, is that an approach also? And I guess secondly, if the mobilization occurs when they're doing the golf course, would be less expensive for mobilization for this than the other typical projects that you've estimated.
I mean, I don't think the mobilization will be any cheaper. If they don't have to do the restoration, if they can do the work and they're going to be driving across the fairway, if the golf course can handle that restoration, like if it's phased appropriately, that would cut down some cost. But
Well, the other way is the long step.
yeah,
You do it from a boat on the shore, and you bring in all the materials like we've done before. Now, that would minimize any, what do you call, damage on the golf course side.
this would be a good candidate for that. But that has its downsides too.
There's plenty of room to, for ingress and egress of the boat to
There's
do it.
one contractor I know that does that.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask this another way. If I'm operating a golf course, I'm gonna reshape and reclaim bunkers over periods of time, correct? Why would the pond bank be any different?
Because the pond bank is under, the golf course and the bunkers are under the golf course, and the pond bank is under us.
Well, if the golf course pond bank is under us, all we have to do is to get it back to a legitimate 4-to-1 or 6-to-1 slope.
I think we're in agreement. I think the issue is how you do it.
Well,
It's not going to
we
be,
do it the cheapest
because the
way.
fact there's no dirt there, Bob. There's no dirt.
We do it the cheapest way, and if that way is not acceptable to the golf course, they incur whatever extra expense it is.
Well, I don't think, okay, so I guess my question to you, Stephen, would be, is it the method that Bob is suggesting? Something that it can be done, keep us in compliance with the permit, and it is a time, because you cannot give me a time. I just need to know, is this something that in 5 years I have to redo it again, and by the time I'm done in 10 years, I would spend the same amount of money, which I could have had it for 30 years. So I guess those are my two questions. I need to know, feasible, yes, we can do whatever we want, but is it financially responsible for us to do that? And will this hold? And what is the timeline?
Yeah, that's a $1 question, so I can't
Ms.
answer.
Flavia.
Yeah, Flavia, the answer is, if we install littorals, once we do this, the results of what's happened in Pelican is it'll stand the test of time. You won't be doing it in 5 years. We've got things like this we did 8 years ago, they look great.
So the thing is, I don't know the requirements for that pond for littorals, and I think I don't necessarily want to even get into that. Given the pond standards, we all agree as a board that littorals will be where they needed to be. We gave them the additional areas, we kind of met halfway. So I don't necessarily want to go on the golf course and plant littorals when there is no requirement for it. Looking at this, if I recall this correctly, I think there's 2 small areas that do. I think that's at the kidney bean area down there.
There's 2 littoral zones there.
There's 2 littoral zones there, but it's very small compared. So I wouldn't necessarily want to do that, because then again, there's a cost for that too. And given that the water is going to rise, and time is of the essence right now. So if Stephen, if you can come back to the board with us answering those 2 things for us, that would help.
Would it be worth, because it seems like timing is of the essence, to, like I mentioned before, have staff go back, get price estimates to pull the golf course section out and see if we can do that as its own separate standalone project this summer.
Pull it out of what money?
We could.
We'd have to.
Hey, let me,
I just want to know what money, what do you want to pull it out of?
The only option you have are reserves.
let me ask another question, Ed, as a golfer.
That included in our application and get paid for it
No.
years down the road?
Cannot. The agreement has to be signed prior to any work occurring.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Okay, can I ask another question of Ed?
Go ahead.
If all of the pond bank has littorals, does that have any impact at all on the golf course? Would anybody object to littorals being there?
Yes.
Why? Once your ball's in the water, it's in the water.
Well, I'll answer for you, Ed, on this one. Right prior to you, Bob, when we were working on the pond standards, Gateway Greens residents were very vocal regarding the littorals. They wanted to just comply with the permit and comply with what was required, but nothing above. Not only for them was an aesthetic issue, I mean, I think there was like 2 or 3 other things. There was a maintenance issue because there's also an additional maintenance cost that you would have, the district would have to incur, not just on the initial, but the operating and maintaining of those Latoros. So I don't feel comfortable in bringing that word back to us besides the 2 areas that are required. That's
Well,
just,
Okay, the reason I'm bringing it up is we could build it on the cheap, make it right. If you put littorals, it's robust. I would not agree with doing it every 5 years. But if you do it once, you put in littorals, you never have to do it again. It's just an opportunity to save money if we're not interested in that.
Yeah, Bob, the district put in littorals on this hole before, and it was a massive failure. Didn't work.
Because
nobody maintained them. And all it was is an ugly eyesore. In fact, if you go out there when the water level goes down, you'll see the ugly eyesore still remaining.
okay, so Bob, will you be comfortable with Stephen getting us those 2 answers? Because maybe if Stephen give us a time frame that it's gonna be very short, then you're not gonna agree to it anyway, so let Stephen do that homework.
What were
Yes,
the 2
Okay.
questions? And just so I can be very clear.
So the method, will you approve it and say it will work? And then also how long you think that
It'll
method will last?
You're talking about Bob's method of
Yes.
just grading.
Yes.
Are we getting clean fill imported, or are we, I think he was just saying cut the actual bank.
Yes.
Like you have an apartment, he was saying
Just go
cut
in,
that in
cut it.
half,
Mhm.
slope it.
So I go back to the
Wait a
funding.
minute. Wait a minute. Now, this is easy deal. You got a triangle, okay? The triangle's the slope, the drop off. And it got to build be 4 to 1 out to the water. And then you come back to the point of the beginning. That's a triangle. It holds so much dirt. Where's it coming from?
He's saying, Bob was saying cutting back into the existing.
No, don't even bring cutting back into the golf course.
So that's.
You will have a uprising
That
in this
wouldn't be,
community.
you would have to do all of that without cutting into the golf course too.
Okay, so we need to import clean fill. Okay.
So
I mean, I think if you're gonna go through the trouble of importing clean fill, you need to put something on it. Like if you just put clean fill there, it's gonna hold up for, I personally don't know how long. I mean, that's how these were built. They're not there
Stephen,
anymore,
I'll
so.
tell you what solves the problem real quick. Have the surveyor go out there and reestablish the control elevation point so you can see. I think what you will see is you've lost golf course.
Right.
And it's even going to be worse than you think is what's going to happen. I would go
Well, I
out
agree with
there,
that.
10 spots.
I
I would drive a stake in at the control elevation, which wouldn't be very difficult right now because we're basically at control elevation. And you'll see just exactly how big that triangle is of dirt that you got to replace to create the 4 to 1 down into the lake.
Unless you're willing to just cut it back.
If I can chime in.
Bob, I just don't have a dog in that fight. The country club is just going to say, no, hell
Go
no.
ahead,
Here,
Chelsea.
we're
Then
getting,
let them pay.
I'm sorry?
Then let them contribute to what they want to maintain their facility.
They
It's
do.
theirs, it's not ours.
They're
Our
paying,
concern is not the golf course fairway. Our concern is the escarpment.
I keep going back to the number, the initial thing you mentioned, timing.
That's
It
good.
doesn't, means and methods of how that occurs, of how the pond bank gets restored, that we put out to a contractor. But the timing is the question that needs answered. So if you want to continue with our typical rotation where we submit this for construction funding in August, yeah, we're gonna be running right unless there are different methods. We have a lake maintenance easement to access that. Yeah, would it absolutely be not a good thing to go run over brand new sod that the golf course just invested a lot of money? Yes. Again, the answer is timing. Do you want to rush this and prioritize this and potentially look at self-funding that if the funding is available? Or do you just leave it be and you continue with, as we've done with the rest of the pond banks? And if the timing is, it's not gonna be the best.
that latter one to me just seems like an option that is not palatable to anybody when they're going to say, you had a way of doing it,
Yeah.
do it. You had a way of doing it. If we have to take and go to a, and I wish we could do, Carol, what you said, is to do it up front and get reimbursed, but they don't work that way. See, and if the number you said is 360, say 400,000, if that's in the ballpark and we have the ability to do it, then we look at it.
That's with the non-woven. If we do what Pelican Preserve is doing on their banks, it'd be approximately half of that.
But
That was my point.
again, my deal is that where's the dirt coming from?
They're proposing to dredge with a long reach excavator, pull in material
They're
that's,
gonna pull material off of the existing material, they're gonna shape it down.
but in Pelican, what they're doing is they're reaching out into the water, below the water, and pulling that material up.
No, I will totally disagree with that.
Okay,
This soil over here it sucks. We've tried
Go right back
that. We have done that too many times. I mean, how many times do we go back to the well and it don't work? So we've been very successful in doing it the way we do it, whether we put down Armamax or we put down the other material.
right.
The other materials, as far as I'm concerned, in this particular application will work well. It's the builder. It's the builder. Where is the builder coming to be able to create the 4-to-1 slope?
Right.
Okay,
So Stephen, actually, the more I think about it, I don't think, I personally don't need you to work on this two items.
Okay. All right. So do we want?
I couldn't hear that, Chelsea, or Fabio. I didn't
Bobby?
hear what Flo used.
we don't need Stephen to work on the 2 items that were previously requested.
Meaning what?
Flavia had asked me to come back to the board and give my opinion on whether or not that method would work to cut back the existing upland material to create a new slope. And then she asked me to estimate how long it would work, essentially trying to do like a lifespan cost benefit analysis.
And Bob, mainly the reason why is because the more I think about it, given the historical data, we probably lost a lot of short of the golf course did. So I don't think I wouldn't want to touch it. I don't think we should.
Do we want to break this out at a time off of this SRF submittal? Or do we want, there's 2 things. So if we do this now, it's going to be great to coordinate with the golf course. If we don't, and they build a brand new golf course and we come to them in December or November and we're like, hey, we have a contractor, they're about to sign a contract, we're going to be starting on this lake, we need to coordinate with you on access, we're going to be tearing up your fairway. I feel like that's probably not going to go very smooth.
And it's going to be, add the one thing, in season.
Exactly.
I'll stand behind you when they do that and hope the hell the bullet doesn't come through and hit me.
We've worked on, like with the weird projects, we worked with Pelican Preserve golf course, and we were out of the way and they were super helpful. But this is, along the entire hole.
Yeah, I know, it's a tough one. I agree with what Flavia said, but just see what the options are of expediting this and then we make a decision. But,
So stay the course.
One last comment, and then I'll be quiet. Are we saying that we're not interested in exploring a lower cost alternative like at Pelican? Is that what I heard you say, Flavia?
I don't know
Yes and no. The issue is there's loss on the property that belongs to the golf course. So if we try to do your method, it's gonna be even shorter. I'm afraid at this point that we're gonna have to pull in dirt just to give them back what went into the water.
So I think Bob
Not at all.
mentioned 2 methods. One was just straight up regrading this. And then I think he's talking about is the method they're doing currently in Pelican, where they're using an excavator to pull material out of the lake.
Ed is against that. So how about you go back and,
Against finding out the number?
well, so how about staff and Stephen go back and come back with recommendations on that?
And with the different options.
With a different option. I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
That's all I'm trying to do. Let's make a decision, but know the cost.
Okay,
Just
so,
make sure that we know where the edge of the control elevation is.
Okay.
So that we know just exactly how much dirt we're dealing with.
okay,
Okay.
so,
So you're
the-
good?
well, there's one of how many ponds that we have, so are there any additional comments for this? So, direction to us is,
I had no problem with it.
okay,
The others
No.
are straightforward,
Yeah.
standard procedure, yeah.
okay. So, just so everybody understands, this is 60% design, next submittal will be 90% design, that too will come back to you. In the meantime, we will try
Well,
to.
No. Don't we want this at our next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do our
To
homework.
decide if we're gonna keep it in the submittal to the Southwest Florida, whatever,
We
or
can
we're
pull it
gonna fund
later.
it ourselves.
So-
You can pull that later.
It won't be at your next meeting.
Yeah.
It's gonna take us some time. So forward thinking, the 90% design of all of these will come back in front of you. In the meantime, we are going to work and come up with alternatives. And as soon as we get those numbers, it's my intent to have it at your first meeting in April, is to come back to you with a recommendation for this portion that you're saying that we should
Okay,
pull out.
I don't necessarily want to wait till the 90% part to decide if we're going to pull this part
No,
out
what
and fund it.
No, what you can do, we can play with this. We don't have to play our card with SRF yet.
Yeah.
We can hold this and make that decision at the last second.
That's, SRF isn't going to be submitted until June.
Right.
You're going to see 90% well before that. So it's our intent to, the timing may come together, but we're going to try to get you numbers as soon as we possibly can.
Okay,
And that most likely will be before 90% submittal. If there's few comments here and there's few comments from staff and the engineers, moving to 90 is going to be pretty quick.
Okay, so I don't think that we have, Doug, you have any comments? What's that?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so then, we're good?
Okay,
I'm good for everything.
I think I got one more item, the Pareto, well, I don't know if that's my item actually, but I
Might
helped a
get it.
little.
You're going to be for that. You're
Okay.
staying for that.
yes,
What's
it's
that?
Try.
the next one anyway.
Yeah.
Great.
It's
You want to
Prado.
entertain these other issues?
You're talking about Santa Luz or?
Santa Luz,
Can we do that? Can we do it at the end?
do it when?
Do it at the end?
It's up to you, I don't care. All I want to do is make sure that we have a resolution of what we're doing on Santa Luz, because I don't want a repeat of what happened in Bellevue Preserve with Lennar.
Yeah.
I saw it the other day, all of us saw it the other day. That was ugly. They're trying to get away with something and it isn't gonna happen.
Okay, so,
Not in my backyard.
so let's go ahead and
it's
go
not
over
on the
this and
agenda.
then,
Okay,
and then we'll go over.
okay.
So
So you want to do Prado first?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it'll give people some understanding of what we're talking, Prado.
Prado.
Like the first. Prada, but Prado. That's what I think.
Prado.
Prado.
He's
Like-
gonna say,
like
he's gonna say
Bravo.
whatever he wants,
Bravo.
let him be.
All right.
Okay, I had asked to have this on our next agenda because it seemed to me that nothing was happening anywhere. And it was always on Stephen's list of things that he's got to be doing. But I understand that, I guess by putting it on the agenda, things have started to happen now. Lennar has reached out to Chelsea, and maybe you could elaborate on that.
That's fine.
But one thing I wanted to find out from Stephen, because there was a very, very small part of the work that you had worked with David, I forget his last name right now,
Yeah.
Okay.
but he was on the Prado board.
Right, okay.
Hamilton.
You guys had actually gone out there and looked at it, and it was things that should have been done on our part. It wasn't a big list of things, it was relatively small. Did we ever get a dollar figure for those?
My memory on those items were all, they were still HOA items. They were the HOA drainage items. That's my recollection.
No, you went out there with David, and there were just a few things,
Okay?
just, Bob, do you remember?
Yeah, if I can. What they're talking about, Stephen, is those small number of items that Lennar did not conform to the permit criteria manual.
Okay.
On the early first 15, 20, 30 homes, Lennar did it a certain way, but it was not in conformance. We brought that to their attention, and then they conformed from that period on. So what Carol's referencing is to go back and seek the funds to bring those first couple of homes up to compliance, based on the list that you got when you field checked.
Okay.
Now,
Totally different.
I think you're
Yeah,
talking.
totally different from the Prado concerns.
right, totally different from what the association's concerns are.
What was the name of the
And they are
gentleman?
also dealing with Lennar on things, but we have no right to get involved in that.
Okay,
Or fund anything, or have any of this money go towards that. So and all I want is to make sure the work gets done, and
right,
it gets done right.
okay,
So, I would like to see us, well, I'm prepared to make a motion that we move that Lennar be provided until March 31st of this year, 2024, the opportunity to remedy and correct the defective, broken valley gutter in Prado, failing which the district manager and staff are authorized to then take all available legal actions. In other words, if we have to take money out of this bond money to do it ourselves, we'll do it ourselves. But we need to give Lennar a period of time to rectify it first.
And I think if I could add to that, Carl.
Fuse here. We have our engineer and our attorney have both given us opinion that the bond is to be released. What's the basis for our decision? And where we know we want to do it, what's our basis to do it?
Right now, there are still, once again, Stephen mentioned, I guess, with valley gutters.
So,
if you want to go ahead, I'm sorry.
sure. Okay, so in June 2023, we prepared a memo. We walked every single home, identified the homes that didn't have their downspouts connected to the rear yard drainage, which is supposed to be done per the PCM and the construction plans. Those were listed in the June 23 memo, and they've been updated in this memo to reflect the ones that are outstanding, the ones that have been done. In addition to the rear yard drainage, there were resident complaints about ponding of water in the valley gutter in front of their homes at these 3 addresses. And we verified they were holding water and they weren't sloped in a way that would provide proper drainage.
So are we withdrawing both our legal and engineering opinion that the bonds be released then?
So,
I don't know if that was my opinion, but.
Can I back
okay,
up?
so let me back.
Okay.
So first a question for you. So valley gutters, I have no issue.
Okay.
The issue, while I understand the permit criteria regarding the downs, I was talking about the downspouts and that.
Yeah, so behind the homes, they have
Is
their,
that included in our bond?
it is not.
It is
So,
not.
so then why are we holding something?
That's my
So
question.
I have no problem holding the valley gutters because that's included on our bond. We have the right to do that. But while I would like to play nice, I think we are putting ourselves out there to try to hold money out of Lennar of this bond, or something that is not our dog to bite. We'll help in any other way, that's my position, we'll help you, but not by doing that, because I don't want the district to be liable and they come back at us for doing something that's phony.
We're not, Flavia, we're not trying to do that.
We're not
Only
trying,
trying,
We're
we're trying to get Lennar to complete those items that are not complete that relate to the permit criteria manual. And tying in the gutters is part of our permit manual.
But it's not part of the bond, so the valley gutters are part of the
Anything construction related is part of the bond.
bond. So I just asked the question to our engineer, and he said no, so, and our attorney's saying no, so I'm, from the list that you gave me, were there 2 items. One item I have no problem with because it's part of the bond, so hold the money, that's whatever the amount it is, and we'll do it ourselves, or I'm not opposed to Carol's
allow
opinion.
time. for
Allow
them to-
Lennar to do it, or we'll go ahead and pull the money and do it ourselves, because we probably can do it faster. Fine. Regarding the other issue, it is not part of the bond. Tony, I don't think we should even touch it. It's
Why can't we do this? We did this up north all the time. Let's just take 200% of the value of the work that is in question. 300% of that value. Deduct that and give the release everything
That's
else.
what I was thinking, and then we do it, the work.
And put it like
Release
into
it.
an escrow account, and
No, just do
when
the
the
work.
work is done,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's one,
We can do it
two,
faster
if
for
the
you.
board's inclined to do that, taking, and this has been done before, you're correct, to come up with a number, as a contingency also, because recognizing there's estimates as to what the work would cost, but you have a reasonable estimate, say 200%, so that's double the amount, and then you either ask Lennar to give us that money, we hold it in escrow, and then they do the work, and if they don't do the work in a certain period of time, then we have the funds to do that, or the idea is about releasing the bond. But I think what the motion is not formalize that today, give Lennar another 22, 24 days to.
Till June 1st.
Or June 1st,
No.
to address,
to the end of this month.
The valley gutters.
to address, well, we can ask them to address the Prado issue
Okay.
with the mindset of coming back to the board, at that time, acknowledging also that At the end of March, so we have the first meeting in April, the board will say, here's what we need, and we'll get back to you and our, possibly.
Have they been approached on this?
Yes,
I saw this letter
Or
in,
what they say about that alternative?
but not that specific alternative. But we notified them of the Valley Gutters a couple days ago. There's been a lot of communication, like Carol mentioned, between us and Lennar and us and Prado, trying to get the communication and get all issues resolved. But with regards to holding this bond, this was initially reduced in 2021 per the permit criteria manual, should have been released in 2022. There are some outstanding issues, which from our district engineer's review of what could be called for in the bond, it is only the Valley Gutters.
So these were not punch list items? They are warranty items?
Yes.
My experience, I've been told many times, you do not use a bond to handle warranty items. You're out on thin frickin' ice.
So we're talking.
My deal is, if you want to do that, if that's truly
With
what it is, and
exceptions
it's,
of the Valley Gutter, because that's,
Yeah,
that would be a warranty, that would
well,
be.
if it was a
Yeah.
punch list item and they didn't do it, that's a different story. But it sounds like to me, this came up after the fact, once we were in warranty. A warranty item and a bond,
No,
two totally
No.
different things. You don't do that.
Ed, let me ask something. Let me just ask Tony
Like
this.
that from the beginning, yes.
Like I say, I'd go
I like
back,
that from the beginning.
yeah, figure out the
Wait a
dollar.
second.
It was the first houses that they did, and they didn't do it
Okay,
right.
don't make
After
it
it was
complicated.
pointed out to them, then they did the rest right, but they never went back and fixed the first one.
Correct.
Let's fail in the position that if we have to fall, we land on our feet. Figure out the dollar value of what they've not done. Give them then an alternative. You've got so many days to do this, and we'll release the deal. You don't do that, then we're coming after you.
do we use today's dollars?
Tony?
Or It's the bond
Tony,
dollar.
I have a question
The
for
dollar
Tony.
value of the bond,
The
whatever
higher
you're holding.
one,
It's like $7.50 a linear foot, and
for a Valley Gutter?
yeah, it comes out to like a extremely
So what's the-
small,
What's the total value of the work not done? Total
so
value.
to correct those valley gutters, I'm estimating
$1,125.
yeah, it's like,
How
And
much?
how much is the bond?
$1,125.
Like
And
in
how
the-
much is the bond?
736.
but there's no way you'd be able to do that work today with those dollars.
That's what I was saying, because I
Well, that's what
remember,
I said.
it's
What's the,
$60.
what's
what
it
is
cost? What's it cost to fix it?
Less, give me ballpark, it was
10
around
times that?
60,
How much?
60 something. a
5 to
linear
10
foot.
times that probably?
Okay, so it's 10 times, and then we're talking 11,000 or more.
I mean,
We do the Valley
Can
Gutter.
can I,
I
can I
can
make a
just
suggestion?
giving a budgetary
125
number,
and
don't
release
quote me,
the
but
rest.
it is what it'll cost what it'll cost,
Can
but
I make
Go
a
ahead.
suggestion? So back to Carol's point, giving Lennar till the end of the month, that'll give us, the district, time to get a quote from a vendor, qualified vendor, to do that work, so we'll have true
And when we say do that work, do the,
valley
Valley
gutters,
gutters.
valley gutters only.
Only.
That's all.
Carol,
Okay.
None of the association work. none.
Which is.
could you remind me of the name of the gentleman that you said I was,
David Hamilton.
David Hamilton,
Ah.
thank you, Chelsea.
I knew it was David something.
Carol, because I forgot, can you make your motion again?
Yes.
Before we get there, wait, one question. Tony, are you saying that the requirements in the permit criteria manual are not covered by the bond?
No, what I'm saying is, and I've been consistent, I believe, all along, is that the district approved a development set of plans and specifications. And based upon that, there was an engineer's opinion of probable cost for that infrastructure that the district was going to have conveyed to it. And so the district imposed requirement for the bond. So the district could look to the bond and make a claim on the surety to get the proceeds to complete work or finish effective work as required by the approved set of plans, similar to what the city of Fort Myers required a separate bond that the association has no claim to, such as Lee County does when there's a subdivision in Lee County. And that's why the district came up with their own bond in the permit criteria manual, because the district had knocked on the door so many times of Fort Myers and the county and said, hey, these communities have not been finished properly, where there's defective issues, et cetera. And Lee County said, tough, the bond is in our favor. You can't make a claim, you can't make us make a claim. And the city of Fort Myers did basically the same. So there, if the approval did not require these downspouts, then, no, I'm talking about this, I guess, I think we're talking about that aspect. If there was not a requirement for those to be
Hold on, let
connected.
me, wait. Bob got kicked off and he's trying to ask Tony a question.
Okay, can you put him on speaker?
I can. Hold on, Bob, I'm gonna put you on speaker. All right, speak loud.
Okay, my question, Tony, is, maybe you answered it, if I didn't hear it, forgive me, this computer doesn't work. But if we had an item in the permit criteria manual, like burying the bounce house, and they didn't, are you saying it's inappropriate to make them do that with the bond?
No, what I'm saying is that if the district reviewed the plans and specifications and the requirements in the permit criteria manual for the construction of the infrastructure for a community, based upon the infrastructure that will be coming to the district and other aspects of the required improvements, the district then looked to the developer to come up with an engineer's opinion or probable cost for the capital improvements. And then from that, you're looking at me, Stephen, like
I just heard a noise. It sounded like Bob got hung
I was
up.
over here.
Okay, sorry.
Then the developer's engineer would come up with the opinion of probable cost, and then for the improvements that were to be developed.
Short version.
And then district engineer would review that, approve the plans, approve the amount that the developer's engineer came up with. That would set the bond, and the bond would also outline the scope of activity that would be covered by the bond. And in this case,
Okay.
is my understanding that.
I was really looking for a yes or no, but I heard you.
No, it's not yes or no, because it's not the permit. The permit criteria says, here's what you need to do to develop. And based upon that, the plans were submitted, plans are reviewed, costs are estimated, bond is calculated, and the approval of the district as to what is in that bond determines what can be called on the bond at a later point. Stephen, you disagree or not?
I mean,
Well,
that sounds factual. Yeah.
here's my problem. I only heard valley goats. I didn't hear anything about the downspouts.
But they were not in this district approval, correct?
They were not on the bond. Only assets that were conveyed to Gateway were in that bond.
So we do have a motion. I just needed to recap that motion. 'Cause you did put out a motion on the floor, and I
I
understand
did.
that Bob had the question, but we answered.
I move that we give Lennar,
If we had it in the permit criteria manual, what does that got to do with the bond? It's a construction.
Bob, we do have a motion on the floor, and at this point, I'm good with you having to review your motion. You don't have to. We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
aye. Say aye, Bob.
I'm
Opposed?
still trying to understand whether they're required to do the permit criteria requirements or not.
I think it and the bond are two separate issues.
No, okay. What should have happened, and again, when the plans came in, and the plans were supposed to conform with the requirements in the permit criteria manual. District staff reviews them, engineer reviews them, I review from other aspects. I don't do calculations, of engineering calculations. And then part of the submittal is also a requirement to outline the opinion or probable cost for that infrastructure. I don't have the exact language, but that's coming to the district. And then that's all reviewed, and then if that's approved, that gets approved as a package by the board, I think at the time. Right?
We approved the permit. That was
Approve the
part of
permit,
it.
approve the development, which include approval of a bond with certain characteristics, of facilities that were to be constructed, and that the bond was to take care of the construction of those facilities in case the developer did not complete them. The downspouts were not included within the scope of the improvements covered by the bond.
Because they are not being conveyed to the district.
Correct. Okay.
So Bob, to your point, although it was called for in the permit criteria manual, it was not accounted for in the EOPC because those assets were not being conveyed to the district.
I just need Bob to vote on the
So
motion.
Bob, Flavia is asking for your vote, either yay or nay on the motion.
Well, it's the first time I've heard that they don't have to comply with the permit criteria.
That's not what I
Okay.
said.
Why do we have it?
Bob, for clarity, I did not say they did not have to comply with the permit criteria manual. It all focuses on what plans were approved, what the opinion of probable cost included,
Yeah.
what was covered under the bond.
Bob, Flavia has called for a vote.
For your vote specifically, we all voted. I'm just waiting on you.
I'll say yes, but I still don't, I'm at a loss here as to what the teeth are in that.
Okay, so we have a motion and we call for vote, so it's 5.
Side, set amount of money, for them to complete what they didn't complete. But they
Pass it down.
the belly button. I don't understand why we have a plan record if they don't have to be.
Thank you.
Okay,
We're good?
we're good? Santa Luz or no to Santa Luz?
No, now we're gonna
Now
go
we're gonna do
down.
Santa Luz.
Okay,
Please let me fill in with the history with Santa Luz before we go. So let me preface with the district does not hold a bond for Santa Luz. Okay, we do not have anything to call on. Tetra Tech has been going out
Why?
all
because
of the infrastructure that was gonna be conveyed to the district had been built and conveyed to the district already.
as previous phases. So when they went to construct the buildings,
I think.
only because all the infrastructure was completed, all they had to pull was an LDO. And so the district does not hold a bond to call on for Santa Luz. So what we've done is Tetra Tech, they have not conveyed utilities, which
I don't know about that.
I don't
Like,
know.
what- I mean, they modified a couple like a couple potable services, I believe, and
Okay.
maybe a lateral, but
Alright.
all the infrastructure was already in the ground and being maintained by Gateway.
okay, I don't know that we put meters to it though, until.
You installed meters.
So there's an outstanding punch list that has been going on between Tetra Tech and the district and Santa Luz and Lennar for a year, if not more. And so we had a resident complaint the other day, and it's been on the punch list for many months about the pond bank and the erosion abutting the buildings at Santa Luz. Staff, Mr. Tinkle representing the HOA, Tetra Tech met on site with multiple Lennar representatives to walk the pond bank so that they could address those issues. Lennar has agreed to address the erosion and the slope to meet the requirements per their LDO. And we are going to be working through that. In the meantime, over the last year, Lennar had also worked directly with the HOA on addressing their sign and a couple other ancillary issues. Tetra Tech has gone out and measured the slopes. We've conveyed that information. We will be conveying that information to Lennar, but this has been a long outstanding issue, and we've got them to the table. We're trying to wrap up the punch list, get all of the items corrected, and hopefully start to get the warranty counting, the clock counting for warranty. Did I hit it?
Yeah, hit that pretty good. The issue is that if they have to comply with the LDO, and the LDO, we believe, calls for 6%.
6-to-1 slope.
I'm sorry,
6-to-1.
6-to-1. I'm sorry, 6%, yeah, 6-to-1. We've gone out and shown that that's not the case. I mean, it's not even close.
They hit it, I think, in like 2 spots,
Down that
probably.
far, down by the golf course. You know, just what we said by just visualizing
Yeah.
it. Somehow, some way, the fact that we don't have a bond and we don't have any, let's say, leverage whatsoever, they, in that meeting, already started laying the groundwork of their case. Well, we did what the engineer said.
Not me.
We've heard that more, not you, their engineer. We heard that on more than one deal. My thing is that we need to get them, to get their engineer to give us a certificate. Because this is gonna test that boy's, you know what. I wouldn't sign off that thing meets LDO if my life depended on it. And I don't think their engineer will. Their engineer needs to come back and tell them why their system is not working. We're talking about erosion that is horrible over there. You can't take a riding mower out there that you won't end up in a lake. It's dangerous, it's flat dangerous. What I think happened was that when they went in and they put down whether or not they did proper compaction, I don't know. Whether or not they did proper grading, I don't know. But I do know they put down Bahia.
Yeah.
And we told them, the HOA told them, Bahia isn't allowed in Gateway. You've got to put down Forte. They went back out and tore out the Bahia.
And at this time, there was already erosion.
And at that time, there was already erosion started. We had no idea of whether they regraded it, recompacted it, or did anything.
We know they did not.
We do know they did not. So
Yes.
you guys saw that
Yeah.
there. So then we can even make that statement. But then they just put down floor tam, and now what it looks like is this, all
Right.
the way down the shoreline. So the only thing I think we ought to do is, while we can sit there and tell them, this is what our permit criteria manual says you should do, and the LDO is part of that, I think what we need to do is to bring in another party, and that is their engineer, and say, you're the one who designed this. You tell us why it's not working.
Yeah.
I personally think that it's the same problem we're seeing all over Gateway. Anytime we go in and we try to do it, I want to use an expression, the half-assed way, it bites you in the butt. That's why we went with the Armamax. That's why we've gone with the stone. That's why we've done these other things. They tried to do it doing nothing. Just basically slope it off with the dirt, put some sod on it, and then let Mother Nature go its merry way. Somebody's got to answer the deal. Mother Nature isn't changing. If they do this and put it back in that same way, what's going to keep that erosion from coming right back down and doing the same daggone thing again? This could keep going on, because like they said, well, if you didn't like it and you give us a 1-year warranty, you're going to ask for another 1-year warranty and another 1-year warranty and another 1-year warranty. Well, my deal is make sure that it lasts for a year. They can't get it in 1 year.
I guess my question is not being all involved in all of it, but the lake at issue, are the lakes or lake?
It's one lake.
One lake.
One lake.
Is it a recently constructed lake?
No, it's been there for decades.
It's over.
Has it been certified in the past by the engineer?
It was, yeah, it's been turned over to Gateway. I think in 2017 it was conveyed for operation and
Tony, one of
maintenance.
the issues is that this, if you recall, we talked about this maybe a year and a half ago. They put the buildings supposedly in the right location, but the distance from the back of the buildings to the lake, I don't think personally is correct. I think the lake has progressed. Instead of going down, it's gone the other direction. They didn't have enough room, and I would guess right now, if you go to the back of their building and you start the 6-to-1 slope, you might not hit the lake.
You might run out, yeah.
You might not hit the lake. I think what happened is that the lake was built wrong or whatever, but the lake appears to be about 10 feet closer to the shoreline than it should be. My guess.
So.
But that's not our problem. That's
I'm a
not our
little
problem.
confused. What is it you want?
I want them, here's the problem we got. We've got an association over there of 36 homeowners that if we don't get this corrected, they're going to inherit this. They're going to inherit this.
Well, they already have it here.
No, they haven't inherited it yet because we haven't accepted it. We can't take and allow this just to go. In other words, if we would just say it right off and say, ollie, ollie, all in free, it wouldn't take anybody in South Florida to come out here and one of those 36 call them up, and we're going to be in World War III. Because it's not.
So what
it's
is it
not-
that you want?
I think what we need to do, I'm trying to figure out a way, because of the fact we don't have a bond. I'm trying to get leverage, because they might do just what they said at that meeting, ignore us. They said ignore us. My deal is that whole pond bank, from start to finish, with maybe a 50-foot exception at the far south end, that needs to be completely re-scraped, all the sod pulled out, regraded, recompacted, and redone.
So we are working diligently on reminding them, friendly reminders that they need to address this. We met on site this week, so, and I'm just looking at LIPA, it looks like that parcel of the pond was turned over to the district in 2014. So, and these Santa Luz, these complexes weren't finalized. I think they got their CO in December, or final closeout of their permit in like November, December of last year. So again, this is another Lennar issue that we're working through with the HOA and their representatives.
Without the ADA bond. That's the problem.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
The other thing is,
So this is for information.
Yes, ma'am.
At this point.
did we ever get the opportunity to review their site plans before the project started?
I'd have to go back and look. I don't know. That was prior
Do
to
you
my
know,
time.
do you know if we got them?
So the first time I saw the plans were in construction. Kenny sent me an email, said, Stephen, they need to make some changes to a couple service connections. Can you look at it for me? I don't feel comfortable making the decision. So it was essentially a new project to me, and I gave my advice on that, but this was, back in, this was before your time. This was Christian Maker and Kenny were.
Tony, how would you recommend that we do this such that the letter we send appears to have some teeth in it?
Let me give it to
Because right
Chelsea.
now, they scare me.
Let me give Chelsea and Stephen as far as the.
We set up a call next week.
Okay. All right, thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Have a great
All
night.
right, so, service provider agreement with Public Administration.
So
Steve?
this item is only for really informational purposes. The board had tabled this item until today's date. I just wanted to kind of give you an update. I did send some communication over to the community association that I did not expect action, but just more of an information of where we're at. And again, since the board tabled it to this date, I wanted to make sure that we followed through with that. We went round and round for weeks to try to coordinate a meeting between our auditors, our attorney, staff, their auditors, their attorney. And so we do have a date scheduled to hopefully resolve the auditing issue in April, early April. So if you would be so kind to table this item until at least May, I would suggest.
I move
Do
to
you want a
table this item until the first meeting in May.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second, on favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, District manager items, you have none, right?
I have none.
Tony?
None?
I do
No,
just
no.
one, no, I just have one. The fishing derby is on Saturday. It's up at the Commons. Last I knew, which was 2 days ago, we had 18 participants signed up. So if you want to stop by and take a peek at the fishing derby, it'll be Saturday morning up by the pool.
Is it catch and release?
Yes, ma'am.
I would be, that's for sure.
All right, so district attorney, legal fees, Stony Brook Road.
So do we want to give direction? I wrote down earlier from your joint meeting with Stony Brook. If you want me to just kind of recap
Yes,
the items.
Yeah.
Can we just take them one at a time, the
Yes.
same,
Yes, ma'am.
Order.
in the same order and the same four
Yes, ma'am.
items?
So,
Whether they're fresh in our mind.
Right?
so Stony Brook solely paying legal counsel with regards to the AGO opinion.
Can you just, Nancy, can you, thank you.
The direction or the suggestion was to split the Tony's expenses to date 50-50 between the general fund and the Stony Brook fund. So that was number one.
Do we want to make motions on individuals?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Okay, Tony, what motion should be made
I
to
think
do that
that-
correctly?
I think it would be that the district authorized the payment and allocation, I guess, of the fees associated with the road turnover, half to the general fund and half to O.
okay.
That's what I move.
And
Yeah,
make the appropriate entries.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Let's be sure when we get this one in the minutes, we get
Verbatim.
these motions down pretty
Yeah.
damn good.
I'm actually happy that we were able to get motions
Yeah.
in set on stone. So second one, Chelsea?
The next one was the reimbursement to the HOA for HOA attorneys' expenses. So the suggestion was the HOA has outstanding requests for reimbursement for bills for Katie Berkey's time, to request that those be reimbursed out to the 004, and that all future invoicing from Katie Berkey would be for their covering of their HOA out of their own HOA funds.
So given the legal, go ahead, Tony.
But I believe it was predicated upon their offer to submit the
Yes.
redacted statements, our review.
Contingent upon
recommendation
they
to the
meet
board,
all
Whether
the
or not that
requirements.
would be sufficient for the board to
Yes.
find a valid public purpose as the primary purpose.
So do we want a motion for that, or we just want a direction to have them provide us that information, and then that motion for this particular item, we'll do it at the next meeting? Because I don't want to do
Do
a
you
motion
want-
that may confuse them.
Yeah, I think it's better to, follow up to them saying, hey, the board agreed to accept your purposes of review, the redacted invoices and statements from Katie Berkey.
Yeah.
And send them to Tony and Chelsea.
And then we'll make a formal motion.
Okay, that's fine. What we'll do is we'll just bring that reimbursement request in front of you for your approval.
And with the recommendation as to whether or not, in my opinion, there's
Yeah,
sufficient.
so that may
basis.
come, let's shoot for the
April.
first meeting in
Yeah.
April, with Laura being out of town. Just for the record, Doug Banks did leave the meeting.
Okay,
The next item was Stony Brook solely paying for legal counsel for track B14. We, the district, will pay that, the outstanding, or the invoicing for Tony for that, and that the HOA will pay for Darren, who was their representative and legal counsel for that. And also that the HOA would reimburse the 004 fund and return the funds for the woods and wetlands invoicing that the district paid for.
Yeah, I don't know if any action needs to be taken by the board. I think the board just is accepting that.
that's,
Clear, well,
I wanted them to make the motion.
Okay.
So they wouldn't change their minds later on.
Okay.
The intent had nothing to do with our board. I just want to make sure that they were on the same page and there was one voice coming back to us. Sorry.
No.
So we don't need a motion for
No.
that one, correct?
No, I
Okay.
don't think so, because it doesn't.
Fourth one.
fourth one, did I write it down? I did not write it down.
No, I think
It was regarding the 50% of so 50% of the Pelican,
Ah,
50%, so 50% out of 002, 50% out of 001 regarding the restraining order gate access.
Restraining order.
Yeah, and I think it also direction to me to create new
I think you
accounts,
said
separate.
001. It's 004 and 002.
I'm sorry, thank you, yes, 04 and 02.
And then for me, direction to me is to have create separate billing statements and separate purchase orders to allocate the cost.
Yes.
Okay, so those
We
were,
do not need a motion for that.
That's correct.
Okay.
those were those 4 items.
That fourth one didn't need a motion.
No, sir.
No.
All right, we're good?
Good.
Anything else on it? Oh, the memo.
Oh, we still on Tony, or you done?
Real quickly, yeah, Katie Berkey, finalized the Attorney General's opinion. Katie Berkey had a couple little nit comments. She's taking the role of Chelsea in regards to it. Yeah, a little drum roll there. And all I need is for the chair, I brought certification that needs to go with it. It was up there earlier, got moved around, and to get that out the door.
Okay, that's fine. Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good?
Yes, nothing further.
We want to ask any questions? Okay, first one, Fairway Lakes Office Park, where we at on that?
I'm about 80% finished with I'm trying to make a one-pager, but it's gonna be 2 pages. I'm trying not to make it overly complicated.
Well, I'm finding, talking to people, that they
Have no
are
idea?
immensely no idea.
That's
So
the same-
what's
that's the
going
same
on?
thing with me.
The
And
comment,
I'm just wondering, and save a lot of time, I really think what we need to do is to have a meeting in here, and we invite all property owners in there, get them
I can-
educated. They don't even know what the hell's going
Yeah,
on.
what I could do, it might be easier just verbally saying, hey, here's where you are. We
I-
tried all this, and here's this, and oh, by the way, Fairway Lakes, there's $206,000 sitting in the court registry that y'all can't get because you haven't got your stuff together.
When I even mentioned that, it was like,
Yeah.
they had no idea
I
what
had
the hell
the
it's
same
talking
issue and
about.
I talked to Chelsea and I said, I was like,
I
I
think
know
we
I
need
can
to.
go a little out sometimes, but that's not what I.
So my recommendation is we get a invite to those owners, pick a night, pick an afternoon, pick whatever. Get them all in here, give them something in the way of maybe a page saying what the problem is. Issue 1 is,
Small, I talked to Chelsea joking about what font size do you want to have it to get on one page, but I will make it double-sided, one sheet of paper.
just make sure that they, when they come to the meeting, they understand what the issue is.
FRQ code.
Yeah, they scan this.
They don't even have a clue of the problems they got relative to roads, sidewalks, streetlights. The only thing they do know is that our streetlights aren't working.
Okay.
You ever figured that out?
so the suggestion I made to Tony was, and I think that's why it's 80% of his time, is to get it condensed into 2 pages, but
Yeah.
to get a letter, and at the end of the letter, the letter will come from me on your behalf, requesting that we can pick a time and date certain, a meeting. Now, my question to the board is, do you want to have a designated representative of the board to attend that meeting with staff, or do you want that as a published meeting?
I think it needs to be with the board, to make sure they
The entire
understand.
board.
With our board, so they understand that the option of doing nothing is quickly coming to an end.
Okay, so we'll have to advertise
You
a
guys-
separate special
there.
meeting for
Right
that,
there.
and,
I
okay,
just think it needs to be with
Bob
this
will be
board.
happy, he'll
Well-
get paid.
we'll work through that. You might be out by that time, so.
Okay.
All right, we'll work
You
through
may
that letter
have
and get
capped
that
the
out.
dollars by then.
Yeah.
We will hard mail to all of the property owners. There's only like 13 of them, so.
Right,
And
thank you.
I think I counted 16, but anyway, following that, I don't know if you all saw the article, it was in the Next Door, and in fact, we maybe even got a letter from Daniels Preserve. They're getting very upset that they're continuing to incur costs of maintaining that road that was of that POA that went defunct down there also.
Worthington.
If we like Fairway Lakes Office Park, we'll love this one because it's a repeat. A deal that just went south. They disbanded, so we need to be doing something with them
So
too.
we're working on
and trying
that.
to help
Chelsea,
them.
Francis and reach out to me, and then I work with Chelsea. So we're working on that, you know, kind of both angles, us and also reaching out to the county.
Yeah, that's
Whichever
enough.
one,
Yeah, that's,
I think that is probably better, but we are, so Chelsea and I are working on that.
that's
When
on
we
the list
were-
because it's part of Commerce Lakes. It's
And
also
that's why I
that
think the
express- It's also
county
that
would
express court there.
When
Right.
when we were doing the county road turnover, as I recall in one of the meetings
They
downtown,
specifically told us no, and they like didn't think that, I
I
remember
don't
that.
read, I think the word hell may have been used. We were asking them that since you own this part, why don't you take it all the way to Daniels Preserve? Or to Daniel Parkway and make it a loop? Then you've got the full Commerce Lakes, you got the full Griffin, and you got full Gateway Boulevard. That didn't go over.
Oh, Chelsea.
They wanted no part of it. So I don't know what we do, but we gotta get that.
Well, I suggested, and I was the one who suggested to Francis to, it's better, especially if you're going at the county in numbers. And so that's why I think he was drumming up the businesses over there, and we're all pursuing the county to take those.
Cecil sent a response that did.
County will respond, and there's been no response yet.
Well,
There's been no response yet.
Yep, Cecil sent a response. I got a
He, no,
response.
he sent a response direct asking staff to respond appropriately, and there's been no response from staff
Oh,
yet.
okay. Yeah, I don't think he was really seeing the real issue, and the real issue was the fact that this wouldn't be a problem if we had a POA.
Yeah, and I guess maybe part of the education also is I have found in my files, way back when the district was talking about this whole process, taking over, obtained estimates from Vanessa or to do either just striping or doing but doing milling, repaving. And I'm looking at those numbers and I'm thinking, that ain't even close to what's gonna happen nowadays. So maybe the pitch is also, wait another 10 years. You know, you keep waiting and you push this.
It gets worse and worse.
It gets worse and worse. I mean,
And
that's,
so Tony did send those his recent files of the research that he did for Worthington. I did pass those along to Francis. So again, this is a team effort between Flavia, Francis, and myself that we're working on pursuing the county.
But then the other one is that where do we stand with the West Links Business Park? Are they or are they not under an HOA? Who's doing the roads down there?
I can't remember it. Chelsea asked me about that.
I thought that one went defunct too.
It did, but the
Yeah.
direction that the board gave with regards to all of them was just to focus on FLOP
That's
first.
what I thought.
And then we'll pursue the others because there are costs and time incurred. So we haven't done anything with that one yet. If you leave, we lose quorum.
I
We have to
know.
wait.
That was,
I didn't read
that was the.
Yeah,
that's
at
all I
the
had.
end of the day, arguably the county could go after individuals for issue code violations. And the question is,
Yeah.
I mean, for the non-compliance with the with the DOs for those communities.
Okay, that's all I had.
No, oh, okay. Agenda amendment?
Is there anything else?
No.
Okay.
What are we gonna do now?
Supervisor
Yeah.
comments, you can start.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do the agenda.
I just did, this, she said no comments, and I was like, supervisor comments.
This is the bad end. Okay.
Then yes, for agenda management,
Yes, ma'am.
I do have, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the location of the dog park. So tell me whose ball this subject is in.
Is
Is
that a
it
pun?
dog park?
I know. Whose ball? Is that a pun? 'Cause
Right,
dogs-
no.
Okay.
It's a rough topic.
In other words,
Whose
is,
phone?
Sorry.
is this issue?
I'm being bad to the bone.
Is this issue residing in the PrAC committee? Or is it before us? Or does PrAC need some direction from us? Or where is this subject?
Okay, so at your next meeting, you will have 60% design of the additional parking back here as well as the maintenance building. And so I was anticipating having the full conversation. I know Doug jumped off the line, but he did recommend early on the meeting today that we have host an evening town hall. I think we've been working on an FAQ, compiling the questions from the committee and from the community. Working with PrAC, we'd like to take that to their first meeting, their next meeting in April, and kind of vet it through them. So I would suggest, like Doug said, perhaps having a night meeting end of April, invite the PrAC, and kind of go and paint the big picture of what the future of everything Parks and Rec is for the district. Now, your decision on the dog park will come at your next meeting with the 60% design of the soccer of the additional parking.
And will the decision at the next meeting be, does the dog park stay here or does it get moved to somewhere? Not
Whatever
specifying
decision
where.
we'll make at that meeting, but my only question is,
No, is that what's going to be on the next meeting?
I thought we made that decision. I just need clarification from you, because I thought when PrAC came to us, they said, we vetted this is what the residents want, this is what the dog, users want, this is the solution, this is what we're giving it to you guys. And I thought at that point, and I can be wrong, and that doesn't mean that we cannot go back. I thought we voted on it
a year ago.
As
part of budget.
See, that's what bothers me on this whole thing. And the superintendent deal is going to talk about this. I think we have a major failure of transparency, not with us, with our owners. We talked about this issue for months, and not one single person from either of those two communities, with maybe the exception of Judy P, said a word. I just don't understand that. It's sort of like back when my days we were doing projects up in the north. Nobody would come to a public hearing when we were doing a facility plan. It was all paper, it was all talk. Boy, but you bring that machine in and start digging a hole and putting a pipe in the ground, and they come out of the woodwork. I don't know what we do, but somehow, some way, that's what I thought our president's meetings were somewhat supposed to stop and get the word on the street. But if we can't make Eagle Point president come to our meetings, we can't make Pinecrest. In fact, I couldn't even tell you who the Pinecrest president is. But if we've got the problem that we're having meetings and having discussions and people don't know what the hell we're talking about, and we get this far down the line, something failed, something miserably failed. So having that town hall meeting, I can tell you right now, I got 1,440-some people in my neighborhood that don't give a damn. So if you're gonna have a town hall meeting, the people that we need to have at that meeting, and we already know what they're gonna say is Eagle Point and Pinecrest, is not my backyard. So we already know that. What I wanna know is that I think we need to get, as soon as we can, is from the PrAC, what's our alternative? What's their recommendation that we do? My thing is that if we aren't gonna put that there, we've already heard and have had the problems of it being a park, that didn't work. So are we just going to own that piece of land and let it set?
So I would jump on that one with you as well, because I was at the meeting with Carol, and I felt like I just wanted to have the understanding. I would say that what PrAC did was summary of the feedback that they received from the residents that were in attendance. So not for a second, I believe that came from PrAC, and that was the feedback that they received, and that's what is really difficult, because the residents that were complaining on Tuesday didn't know that. And then I wish that PrAC would have voiced that, like, look, the decision that we came in agreement with was feedback from whoever came. If it was 1, 5, 10, and that's what we came to the board, and that's why we moved on down the line. And I just do feel like there's a clear, I wish they would have read the agendas, I would have wished they read the minutes, but they don't. They want to read Facebook, and they want to read their version, their way, and it's very difficult to just kind of go back and try to, reset everyone.
So the PrAC did vote at the end of their meeting yesterday. They had two different motions. One was not to sell the fun park, which that was a 3-2 vote, although there were 7 members, 2 were not present. So that was a 3-2 vote not to sell the fun park, because I did make them aware we are awaiting the appraisal, which I should receive tomorrow for the fun park that you all directed me to do. And then The other motion that they made was not to move the dog park to the fun park. And so those were the two motions that
Did
came
that
up.
motion fail? I don't know.
No, it passed. It passed. Not,
Don't move it.
don't move it.
Okay, so what do they want to do, what they talk about doing with the fund farm?
There,
So that's my question. If we as a board already accepted their recommendation and voted on moving forward and giving staff directions to spend the monies and go ahead, while I appreciate that they did that, it's still gonna come back to us, right?
yes. So what we can do is we can put together, as an agenda item for your 21st, multiple options, but then you're not giving the PrAC the opportunity to weigh in, and then the next time that they meet is in April. So ultimately, this board and PrAC all have decided that the basketball court and a playground were to be included in phase 1. So the original intent, and the intent that is still today, is to move those amenities to the commons. So in essence, those would go away at the fun park. And we would tear those out and remove those and sod it or whatever the board's direction is.
So it just becomes grass.
It would become grass.
That's a very expensive area that we're just gonna keep a very.
Well, the other one is that before we get too far, we're making this assumption, and probably rightly so, is that we're moving it to the commons part. Where?
Well, that's.
We need to have whoever's doing our work, our master planning, how are you gonna fit the dog park in there? Because that, to me, is one that doesn't go in phase 2, 3, or 4. That needs to go in phase 1A, because it's a problem, and we're a problem right now. Somebody that was a speaker tonight had a pretty good idea. If we could take and have a double access to that, to where one of them is up there on that FPL easement, in other words, put it in that far back east corner. Probably hear next from Hampton Park screaming about it, but.
Well, opposite, near what 114 is, that conservation area.
Yeah.
We could put it on that end too.
That's another option.
Because then the Eagle Point would be far away. I mean, we travel down to the water, but.
So I want to remind you that
But we need an alternative plan.
and we're very early on in the design phases of the commons. Keep in mind, we have 125 dog park users.
100 what?
125 dog park members as of 2 weeks ago. So that's the impact that you have to think about if we are pivoting, which that is absolutely fine. We're a year into this. We had these discussions last year. You put it in the budget, the money's there. It was a matter of us getting permits and making the move. But what we can do is we can come back to the PrAC at their next meeting in April, although that's going to be after your 60% design review of.
And they couldn't be prior to?
We could ask them, we could pull them to meet prior to that. Well, it would have to be next week, and with notice, I mean, reasonable notice, we need at least a week's time, so.
Yeah, that's, it's always better than 7 days.
Oh, yeah.
Just gotta save something.
Well, maybe.
So as to have people not say that we're trying to rush it through and trying to shove.
Well, what they're not, what I'm hearing is it's the education of the people of the issues is just non-existent. They aren't aware
Yeah.
that the main reason we're doing this is because
There's a need.
we have a need for parking over there in that deal. I mean, that's all there is to it. That's the issue. There isn't any other issue.
And they are unaware of the building. They're unaware of the well. They're unaware, they believe that they truly believe that the whole entire area is their parking lot.
Yeah.
And it's not. So yes, when you look at it on LIPA right now, yeah, you have green areas, but all of those, because you're only looking at one thing, those are already mapped out for something else. So there is no space for that.
Well, I think we need to get the advice of our consultant that's put together this Park Phase 1 plan and ask him how would we best and most economically put a dog park over there.
And I have mentioned this to him in the event that this did come up, and as you may recall, there was ample green space that you left remaining in the commons. And so he said that he would easily be able to find a home for it. Now, it may not be the exact size that we have now, but he believed that we could accommodate it in a part of the commons. Now, you determining what phase that's in, that's totally up to you.
Well, unless it's in phase 1, you aren't going to have a dog park. I think it's pretty simple. And you talk about 120 people. When I look at some of the other things that we've done and spending or proposing to spend money on, you're only going to get 120 people to do that. So why are you doing it? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. That, if we have no place else to put a dog park, it's that simple. We don't have any place else. So it's somehow, some way, gotta go into the commons. Question is, how do we do it? Make it work, where it's not real expensive, because it's not that expensive to build in the first place. But your parking and your driveway and your drainage and all that's where your money's gonna be.
And that's, I think people also the misconception regarding the selling, like, they think it's selling, it's just one of the options. But I think we have a site, $200,000 set for the move.
205.
205. So we have that money, so we just go, instead of moving to the fun park, we'll move to the commons. But if you do sell that land, and depending on what the price comes, then you can also offset costs for commons.
That's why I think we
So,
need that cost.
so I think the residents are thinking like, you're gonna punish us and you're gonna sell and you're not gonna give us this. No, you're taking what you would have developed on this particular area that was gonna cost you. Now it's not gonna cost you because the money's there, we're gonna sell it and have income to build it in a different location. And I think that's what we're failing. I think, even on the PrAC meeting, even with staff, I think there was an opportunity with staff to say, to kind of reel it back, and it's like, it's not, that, selling the fun park, it's a very short one sentence, but this is how. That's just like money in the bank, it's green, you offset, and you're gonna have your playground, your everything, you're just gonna be in a different location, and so I think I think we do still have an opportunity to better explain, and
So
we do have audience.
Yeah, we need more information.
Would you like it to come, to Carol's point, would you like those different options to come to you at your next meeting in conjunction with the 60% design, or would you like to delay your review of the 60%
You
design
mean the 60% design of the
Parking.
Parking.
and the building? Delay it until after the PrAC meets, and that way you can hear what their input is. So.
I mean, if it comes, I would hate to have this delayed, we know the needs.
We got the tail wagging the dog.
Exactly, I would hate for us to delay this. We'll try to work it out as best as we can to get the dog park in the best location that we can. I don't want to delay the needs in here because there's just a lot of moving pieces over here.
I agree.
I think right now is not the time for us to delay this. Not saying that the dog park is not gonna move to the commons, not saying it's gonna be at the fun park, I'm not saying any of that, I'm just dealing with this right now. I think we just continue with what we have here. And if it comes to it that we're gonna start work here and we have to close the dog park because it's gonna be phased out on commons, then we're not gonna have a dog park for a year, 6 months or whatever, but because it is what it is, because it's gonna be time to put it somewhere.
I'm hoping to have the appraisal information to you and with that meeting as
That'll
well,
do.
So we'll prepare an item with all of that, and then that way we can also tell the PrAC and the handful of residents that have been very active in this conversation, we can let them know that anticipated at the next board meeting on March 21st, which starts at 4 p.m.
That's right, 4 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to have a public hearing at 6?
No, I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary.
Well,
But
from
do you
what,
have any
you know,
other
Doug
supervisor comments?
Yeah, I have
besides
a
that?
couple here.
suggested
They're really fast.
A town hall meeting.
A town hall meeting.
Yeah, I don't think we're ready for that, truthfully.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead and finish your
Supervisor comments.
supervisor.
Okay, well, the first one was this transparency issue, and I think we beat that.
Oh,
to
you've
death.
got more?
Yeah. Gateway Boulevard clearing, just so that, a lot of people are asking, they tore out all the, what was that, exotics?
Yes.
Did we own that?
Where?
Or how much of that do we own?
What are you talking about?
Up
Where?
on Gateway Boulevard in Stony Brook.
Oh, that track B14, abutting track B14, so that's waste management.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of exotics, we made a request to
But
them.
from the fence back, how much of that is ours?
None of it,
None of it.
none of it.
None of it.
It's all on Gulf Waste property.
So the 10-foot or whatever the width is of the B14,
That's
is,
nothing to do with anything, yes.
well, that's not my question. The question is the 10 feet of B14 from the fence back toward the road?
That's my understanding.
Okay, so
I don't know that the fence is exactly on the property line, but
that's what I was wondering. So, but the clearing had nothing to do with anything but clearing of the exotics that the county had a responsibility to do.
That-
Waste management
waste
had.
management, yes.
Okay.
you may anticipate additional clearing because there's still a need and they were overhanging that fence line and encroaching onto other properties.
Okay, and then there was another article, pretty nasty again, today, I believe, on Next Door. I just don't know if these people read or what, but that roundabout out here, we didn't pay one nickel for that fountain, not one nickel.
Well,
We
you
didn't
did
pay-
through your county taxes, perhaps.
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff for county taxes, like that road over here that's been closed for the last year and a half, goes nowhere. But anyway, the issue is that we got that as basically a perk from the county.
Correct.
We got that as a perk. The only thing we're picking up is the operation on it. We didn't pay one nickel for the design or any of that.
Correct.
How they get started with that in the paper and these articles, it just blows my
But
mind.
Ed,
These people-
that was, day one was like that. So either we take the improvement and say thank you to the county, or the county take that fountain and put it downtown.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that they put it down
I
here,
am too.
you know what I mean?
I am
So-
too, because I think it's looking great. I still think the roundabout's too tight, but we'll see what happens.
Okay,
with that.
okay,
That's all I have.
all right. Carol, you have anything?
No,
All right.
Bob's on
Bob?
Do we have a groundbreaking date yet?
Yes, you should have received for the roundabout?
No, for the admin building.
Oh, no, it's out to bid right now. We'll let you know. I promise. We'll
Did
get you.
the engineers give us a pre-bid estimate?
Uh-huh.
Any update?
No, it's just 5 million.
Still the same 5 million?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought they might, because
Carol's got another question.
cost has
Yeah.
gone up.
Bob's got
That's what I was
another one.
wondering.
so how many pickleball courts could you put on at the fun park?
I'll let you know later.
Well, they will scream if they hear that ball from the balcony.
Bob's got one more question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bob. Oh, you're
I have
muted.
nothing, I have nothing else. I'm
Okay.
good.
Flavia, did you have anything?
I don't have anything.
All right.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bob.
Second.
See you.
Aye.
Okay.